the reading portion. She's going to hand out a red pen and some highlighters to everybody, and we're going to start on page 236. So while she's doing that, if you guys want to get your books open to page 236, that would be great.
Can you pass me my highlighter? No.
Awesome, thank you. Did everybody get a red pen and a highlighter?
What number?
Page 236.
I like your face.
Oh, thank you. All right, everyone got what they need? Yeah, so you have some space. These books are so big.
Why they have to be so big?
There's a lot of information in these books, so. I know, they are heavy. All right, so you guys, has anybody taken the ACT already once? Okay, what did you guys think?
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. I'm not a good test taker by any means, so I hear you. It's not fun, but you'll get through it, I promise. So we're going to talk about the reading test. One thing that I want to talk to you about, and you kind of may have already discussed this with Annika back on Tuesday. This goes against everything we teach you in school. Go read your passage, highlight, go back and reread it, all that kind of stuff. You don't have time to do that on your reading test, okay? I believe for your reading test, you have 35 minutes for 40 questions, right? Okay, what does that tell you? You don't have to, you have less than a minute to answer every question, okay? So does that leave you any time to really read a passage? No, okay? So what we're gonna talk about today, we're gonna talk about a strategy on how to go through these passages and how to figure out basically what you need without ever really having to read the entire passage through, because you don't have time to do that, okay? Everyone with me on that? So flip over just to page 24 for me really quickly. I just want to point something out to you guys. So on page 24, you're going to see a pacing guide. So if you have already taken the ACT, you can kind of use your scores if you have received those and kind of fill it out from here. But this is just kind of setting your own personal goals. What do you want to accomplish? Things like that. Okay, how many questions do you need, to get to where you need to be? Maybe that is you are on pace, you've done well for all your practice tests or what you've done so far, things like that. But that is something that I want you guys to take a moment to fill out, if you don't mind. Everyone with me on that? Okay. So there's 4 passages, 40 questions, and you only have 35 minutes. So less than a minute. Okay? So if you want to go back, you don't have to do that right now, but eventually you'll kind of want to fill that in. Is everybody going to be here on Saturday for the practice test? I believe it starts at 9 o'clock. I believe it ends at noon. Okay? Yes, it's here. Also, guys, if you are planning to attend on Saturday, please make sure you bring your book, because your practice test is in this book. So if you don't bring your book, we have no way for you to take your practice test. Everyone with me on that? Okay, so don't get up early and show up without your book, because then you got up early for no reason. That's no fun. All right, everyone with me on that? Okay, so back to page 236. Everyone can put back over there with me. Give you a second to do that. Okay, so like I said, you've got 4 passages on your ACT test. There are 4 passages, and you are going to have them in a specific order every single time. Does it mean you have to read them in that specific order? No, okay, but this is the order that they're going to come to you. Everyone with me? Fiction, social science, humanities, and natural science. Okay, so what you're going to want to do, guys, and we'll go through all of this, but there are probably things, some of you may love reading fiction novels, okay, like Harry Potter or Hunger Games, things like that. Those might be right up your alley. So you may want to start with the fiction piece, okay? okay? Or you may like reading something about humanities, like a personal essay, things like that. So you might want to start with that. So just know, you don't have to go in the order that it gives you. You don't even have to answer the questions in the order that they come at you. Is everyone with me? Okay, so that being said, you can pick that order, okay? That's called your personal order of difficulty. Does everyone remember that strategy? Have you heard that before? Okay, so on page 237, if you look at the very bottom, there's a little box there. Does everybody see that little box on the bottom of page 237? Okay, will you guys go ahead and just kind of put a star by that, underline it, circle it, highlight it, whatever you want to do. That's just something to kind of help you break down this ACT test, things to remember as you're going through it. And we are going to go through these. Okay, so this again goes back to what we're saying. Remember that this is going against everything we've taught you in reading, where read the passage, underline, highlight. Don't have time for that. Okay? So far, so good? Okay. So, with that being said, let's go over to page 238. And we're going to talk about the 4 types of passages, and we're going to go through all 4. It doesn't mean that you have to do them in this particular order, but this is just an activity for us to work through. Does everyone follow me on that? Okay, so the first type of passage that you'll see when you get your ACT test is called a prose, fiction, things like that. Okay, fiction passages. Know that when they're asking you questions, facts are less important than the setting, the atmosphere, things like that. It's going to focus more on the character and their emotions rather than what's actually fact, because it's a fiction novel, if that makes sense, or a fiction piece, excuse me. Everyone with me on that? So kind of keep that in your mind when you go to look at questions. You're looking for something, and that's right here in that paragraph, kind of midway down the page before the passage. It tells you that. Okay, so you're going to be looking less at fact, more at emotion, atmosphere, setting, characters, relationships, and things like that. Okay? So you'll see that there's a passage there. Does everybody see that passage? Yep, it's just a quick little couple of paragraphs. I want you to take about 45 seconds just to read that. Okay, read it like you would normally read a passage, and just read that. Don't worry about the question just yet. Just read the passage for me. So I'm going to give you 45 seconds. Okay, now I want you to look, hopefully you got to read that relative, I know that was a quick 45 seconds. Go ahead and try to answer the question for me. The question's right below there. Okay, so remember your questions are more likely to involve identifying the implied meanings rather than what was directly stated. Okay, so you're not necessarily looking for a fact, you're looking for something that was implied. And again, this is a fiction piece. Be about 10 more seconds. Anybody have an answer that they'd like to share? The question says, Alan most likely encouraged his grandmother to wear her bracelet because he what? Did he find the bracelet colorful and approved of its appearance? No, but we don't see that anywhere. That wasn't implied anywhere in the story, so we can eliminate that answer, correct? What about B? He had found its appearance pathetic and wished his grandmother to look pretty. Did it ever say anywhere, did we ever get the feeling that he wanted his grandmother to look pretty? No, basically he what? Threw shade at her throughout the entire passage, correct? Okay. What about C? He was impatient with his grandmother for spending time worrying about the bracelet. Did anybody choose C? Why did you choose C?
Because it said Alan tried to be tolerant.
That is the perfect, that right there is why you choose C. What does tolerant mean? Patient, just trying to deal with it, right? Okay, so he was impatient with his grandmother for spending time worrying about a bracelet that he didn't even like, correct? Okay, and then if you look at D, felt the bracelet matched his grandmother's bright personality. Does that have a negative or a positive connotation with it? More of a positive connotation. When you were reading that passage, did you get a positive connotation of Alan's feelings towards his grandmother? Not really, okay? So C would be your correct answer. Now, that took us a little bit of time, okay? You will not have time to actually read the passage and then sit there and try to really, go back and deduce what your answer is, okay? So we are gonna have to kind of shorten that up. Is everyone with me so far? Everyone's good with why C is the correct answer? Cool. Okay, so that's a fiction piece. Again, if you like fiction, that's what you like to read in your free time, that is something that you might want to start with. Everyone follow me on that? Okay, let's look at the next one, social science. Okay, these are like the papers that you write for school. It's going to flow pretty logically. Okay, there's going to be a clear topic. There's going to be transitions that are going to help you develop what the main idea is. Okay, the author, the writer, may have a point of view on what he or she is writing about, or he may simply just deliver the information without choosing sides. Okay, so I want you guys to take 1 minute to read this passage, just to read the passage. Okay, just take a minute. All right, I know that's a quick minute. So again, we're gonna teach you how to kind of breeze through these and not have to spend so much time reading. Anybody have just a little brief idea of what this was about? Anybody? You can throw out anything, guys. We're all here to learn. Anybody have an idea? Yes, sir.
This is not a really
Anybody? Okay, so we were talking about, basically this is an informative piece, it's a social science, so this is just giving you basically facts. Does everyone follow me on that? Okay, this is talking about religion, and how religion perhaps, in this author's, how it came to be, okay? Everyone with me on that? So, I want you now to take about another 45 seconds, and I want you to answer questions 11 and 12. Okay, so I know you didn't necessarily, okay? So right here. Oh, good, okay. So remember, this is based on facts. You're gonna probably want to go back and look through the passage to find proof of your answers. 15 more seconds. Did anybody get an answer for number 11? Anybody get an answer? It says, according to the passage, natural disasters. Someone give me an example of what a natural disaster is. We've been seeing a lot of them lately.
Earthquake.
Earthquakes, what else? Tsunamis, what else? Tornadoes, hurricanes, all of those are natural disasters, okay? So if you look at this passage, it says, according to the passage, natural disasters. Do you see any examples in the passage of natural disasters? If you look at the second paragraph, the third sentence, storms, floods, famine, and other adversities. Are those all examples of natural disasters? Okay, and I'm going to show you as we get into this how to quickly find that, okay? Contributed to the development of religion by. How did those natural disasters contribute to the development of religion? Did it motivate human beings to acquire some command over their environment? Did it make human beings distinguish themselves from animals? Look at answer choice B. Does it talk anything about humans distinguishing themselves from animals?
No.
No. So what can you do with option B? Cross it out. Okay? Did it cause, was the development, or natural disasters contributed to the development of religion by causing human beings to sacrifice their lives and goods? I would say hold on to that answer for a second, okay? Because if you look at line number 15, worship, ritual, sacrifice of life, and property, okay, became means through which early people sought to cajole the powers and avoid the blights and miseries. Hold on to answer choice C. Look at answer choice D, providing a need for ritual and tradition. Okay, were the natural disasters, did those contribute by providing a need for ritual and tradition? No. So we can eliminate D. So we're down to a 50-50. So let's go back to the passage. Is it A or is it C? Natural disasters. So go back to that sentence, it's in line 9. Storms, floods, famine, and other adversities inspired fear in the hearts of primitive peoples, as well they should have. Okay? So these people, they developed the need for religion because, were they doing it so that they could sacrifice their lives and their goods? No. They were trying to, hopefully, by having this religion, help avoid these natural disasters. So you should have chose answer A. Okay? And then look at number 12. The author believes that the origins of religion. Did anybody get an answer for number 12? What'd you get? Did you get J? J? Anybody have anything else? Can you tell us why you chose J? No worries. Look at line 5, guys. Line 5. The author believes that the origins of religion, if you look at line 5, it says, hence the historian should want to probe the origins of religious belief. Look at answer choice J. Should be the subject of serious historical inquiry. Those are the exact same sentence, just with different words.
Okay.
They are conveying the same message. Does everyone follow me on that? Okay? Again, I know that's really overwhelming. I know I read that passage the first time through and I was like, I have no idea. I had to read it a couple of times. Do we have time for you to read it a few times?
No.
We don't. Okay? But if you like social sciences, you like informative pieces, you might want to start with that. Okay? The next one is humanities. Okay? Humanities is also nonfiction, but it's like a personal essay. Okay? So you're going to have more emotion, more personality in that. Okay? Usually, the author is going to take a stance on something because it's coming from that person's point of view. Everyone with me? Okay? So go ahead. That's a really short paragraph. I'm gonna give you guys about a minute and a half to read and answer that one question. Bless you. Bless you. All right, was this an easier passage to read? Yeah, I thought so. I thought the same thing when I read it. I was like, oh, this one's easy. So it says in the passage, the phrase careful planning, line 7. So when you see, I'm going to go ahead and give you a hint. It's kind of a preview of what we'll talk about in a second. When it gives you a line number, that is like a map to exactly where you need to go to find your answer. Your answer is going to be somewhere near that line, okay? In the passage, the phrase careful planning, line 7, refers to the method of tomato cultivation that has, anyone have an answer?
G.
I heard G. Did I hear anything else? Do you guys agree with G? How about that?
Yeah.
Everybody agrees with G? Can somebody tell me why you agree with G? What's that? Line 9? Okay, what does it say in line 9?
Long distances and skills of great and only passion to this taste.
Very good. Awesome. So did you hear what she said, guys? So they've cultivated the tomatoes in line 9, okay? They can be hauled long distances, meaning they can come from one side of the country, get all the way to the other side, and it's still gonna look like this pretty red, juicy tomato, but when you actually cut into it and you taste it, it's not gonna taste so good, okay? So, everyone with me on that? So that's what the guy you read earlier back in the day, he said, it takes it really hard to ruin a tomato. And clearly in North America, we have carefully ruined that tomato. We've worked really hard to ruin that tomato. We keep the outward appearance looking really nice, but we degraded the taste. Everyone with me on that? Did everybody get G on that question? Yeah, I thought that one was pretty straightforward. Okay, so again, humanities, if you like reading personal essays, if you like personal point of view, you like something with more emotion, you might want to start with the humanities essay. Okay, and these are all going in the order that they'll appear on your test. So you'll always need to remember that so you can know where you kind of want to start. Okay, and then the last passage on your ACT that you'll see is a natural science. Okay, natural science is very detailed, it's very technical. Okay, it will be very organized. You will have a clear and concise main idea and topic sentences, but just know that it's probably going to be a little bit more intense in terms of the topic. Okay, so if you guys would, I'm going to give you a minute to read that. A minute to read that passage. Okay? I'm sure you might still be finishing reading that up, but once you finish, I want you to go ahead and answer the question. Now, the good thing about natural science passages, the questions aren't going to require that you make any assumptions or inferences. You can pretty much closely match your answers with what is given to you in the text. Okay, so you're not really going to have to assume, you're not going to have to try to think, like, is this what he means? It should almost pretty much be identical to what you see in the passage. Does everyone follow me on that? Okay, so go ahead and take about another 30 seconds to answer that question. It's only one question. So it says, which of the following best represents a general trend associated with, I'm going to brutalize this word. Can anyone say that properly? I'm going to sound really silly saying it. Mammalian? That's a mammal. Evolution. So let's kind of go through this, because I know when I was reading this, like, this was super technical for me. I'm not really into the sciences. It's not my necessarily favorite thing to read, so I kind of went cross-eyed reading some of this stuff, and that's okay. We're going to go through these answers and kind of show you process of elimination, how you can get to the correct one. So the first one, answer choice A, says enhancement of bodily movement from right to left and left to right. Now, if you remember, we did talk about the bodily movement, right? Okay? But did it talk about just going from right to left and then left to right? No, it talked about going from side to side versus up and down. So, can we keep answer choice A? Is answer choice no? Right now, that's gone, okay? Look at answer choice B. Minimization of muscle groups oriented lateral to the vertebral column. Okay? I do remember reading something about lateral and the vertebrae. Do you guys remember reading that? Okay, let's go back to the text. And I believe if you read, it's in the very first sentence. Okay, does everyone see the first sentence? It says, it is further noteworthy that the terrestrial vertebrae's most significant muscles of movement are no longer located lateral to the vertebrae column, as they are in fish, but rather in ventral and dorsal relation to it. Okay? So, it says minimization. What does minimization mean? To make less, right? It's reducing along those lines. And isn't that what we have here in this first paragraph? Everyone with me on that? Does everybody actually see that? Okay. So let's hold on to answer choice B. What about C? It says the development of propulsive fins from paired limbs. Do you recall reading anything about limbs and fins? I don't recall any of that. Do you? So what are we going to do with answer choice C? Cross it out. Okay, and again, we're talking about the evolution of the mammal. Okay, and then it says secondary return to the sea. I remember reading something about secondary. Do you guys? Okay, and I'm saying I'm remembering because we're going to talk about that, how you can kind of use that to help you here in a second. But does that have anything to do with the evolution of the mammal? Because evolution means what? Change. Okay, so returning to the sea, does that have anything to do with how the mammal has changed over time? No. It's because of those changes that the mammal would need to return to the sea, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what would be our only answer? B. Okay, and again, we proved that. That was basically right there in that first sentence. And if you remember, guys, on natural science passages, do you have to make many assumptions? No, those answers are going to be very closely related to what you read in the actual passage. Everyone good? Okay, so again, yes ma'am?
I was confused in that question.
That's okay.
Because here it says like it was minimum, it was
Uh-huh.
like smaller.
Uh-huh.
But here it says that they're no longer located, so they're no longer there.
Right, so when you think of minimize, because I know that word, you think minimize like, oh, we're gonna make it smaller, we're gonna reduce it. Minimize can mean a number of things where it's just kind of like taking it away. It's not no longer of importance, okay? Where it was once a focal point, it's no longer a focal point, if that makes a little bit more sense. So sometimes we don't want to think of the word in a literal sense, but kind of use our knowledge of, you know, the way that we can use the word minimize. Does that make a little more sense? Cool. Okay, so again, your 4 passages. Fiction, if you like fiction, what are you going to start with? Maybe fiction. After fiction, you're going to go to a social science. Okay, social science are what you kind of write for school. Pretty informative. Okay, they're going to be clear and concise, so if you like those kinds of things. Humanities, those are going to have a lot of emotion. Okay, and then natural sciences, remember, those are going to be more technical. Everyone with me on that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now, everyone with me? We're going to talk about the actual strategies, because there we basically just threw you out in the deep end and said swim, right? Figure it out, do what you know how to do. We used a lot of time to do that. Again, you have no time to do that. So, in going through your passages and picking out the ones that you like we've said, pick one that the subject matter is your favorite, but there's a few other things that you want to look at, okay? Ideally, a passage, and I'm reading on page 241, ideally a passage should feature 8 to 10 paragraphs, okay? And each paragraph should have about 5 to 15 lines. If you see something with more than 8 to 10 paragraphs, like a bunch of like little ones, kind of skip over that one. Maybe say, oh, okay, that may be a fiction one and fiction's my favorite, but more paragraphs means more for you to have to look through, okay? Everyone follow me on that? Are we good? Okay. And then that's also, you don't want to have anything with individual lines as a paragraph. Everyone okay with that? So 8 to 10 paragraphs, each of them made up about 5 to 15 lines. Okay? Now, when you're reading, when you're answering your questions, so when you are done looking through your passages, you're going to go to your questions. Your questions are not in chronological order. What I mean by that is, it's not going to be, you know, okay, question 1 is going to be early on in the passage, and then question 2 will be later on in the passage. They're just going to be in random order. Okay? So what you're going to want to do, the questions that you want to look for, you want to look for questions that reference line. Okay? Why do you want to look at something that references a line? Because why?
You know where to go to.
You know exactly where to go to. It's a map for you. It is basically telling you this is where you need to go to look for your answer. And your answer may not be directly in that specific line, but it's going to be somewhere within 5 to 10 lines of that one that it directed you to. So maybe 5 before, 5 after, somewhere in there. But you at least have a guide of where you should start. Okay? Everyone with me? So you want to look at questions that have more line references. If they don't reference a whole lot of lines, you're going to be stuck having to navigate through that entire passage trying to figure out where to go for your answers. So if you're looking at your test, what do you think you want to start with? You want to look for questions that have line references, right? That way you know where to go.
Yep.
Everyone with me? Okay, cool. So let's go, switch over to the next page so I can give you an example of what that looks like. Page 242. Page 242.
We're looking at it right.
So it says compare the 2 questions and their answer choices below. I'm not even going to read anything. Just look at question 13 and look at the answer choices. And then look at question 14 and look at the answer choices. Which one do you think is going to be easier to answer answer? 13 or 14? 14, why?
It's short.
It's short. Longer answers usually mean harder questions. Shorter answers usually mean easier questions. Okay? Everyone follow me on that. So those are things, guys, that you're gonna wanna look for on your test. I know this is a lot of information, so we have to move kind of fast. So you will wanna kind of filter back through this on your own time to make sure you understand. Okay? But that's a good tip. Longer question, or excuse me, longer answer, harder question, shorter answer, easier question. Good with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Now, on the second part on page 242, it says use your eye, not your brain. When you get your reading passages, guys, you're going to get a blurb, a little snippet at the top of your reading passage. Usually that reading passage will only give you the title, the author, the publishing company, and the copyright date. Okay? Maybe if you're lucky, it may give you like some meaning of some unknown words. But for the most part, it's just going to be the author, publisher, copyright, things like that, the title. Okay, but maybe sometimes just reading that, at least reading the title, it may reference or it may help you understand the paragraph better. Possibly, but not always. Okay, everyone with me there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Page 243. So this goes back to picking your order. So this is something I want you to take a couple of minutes to do. Okay. It says put these passages in your own order. So you'll notice it's kind of giving you some examples of passages, okay, and what you would see if you were actually scanning through them. So I want you to pick them and say, hey, how would I do this? If these were the type of passages I came across on my test, what order would I do this? Everyone follow me on that? So let me give you some time. Let me give you probably like a couple of minutes just to do that really quick. So again, remember to think. If the questions have long answers, you know the questions are going to be harder. If you see questions without any line references, the questions are going to be just more difficult to answer because you don't have a map or a guide to go back and filter through the passage.
What did it say? You don't know.
Give me about 30 more seconds.
Hold on.
So just looking at exercise 1, and this is again, it's not necessarily that you have to do this, but I just want to know what would be the last passage that you would read on exercise 1? What would be the last absolute one? Which one? I heard it. Why would you read, why would you make that one last? Tell me why. A lot of paragraphs, okay? It doesn't have any line references, and the answers are all long. That right there is a recipe for, hey, that's going to take me way too much time. Okay, so you would want to leave that one for, you know, your later or never. Does everyone remember that? Now, later, never? Okay, cool. All right, so that's just for your own benefit. Those are things that you'll have to practice and kind of look at. Let's look at page 244, so if you'll flip over. And I know some of you guys have to leave at 4 o'clock today, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we will, give me just a minute and then I'll go over your homework. Okay, so again, your questions on the ACT, they're not in chronological order, okay? They're also not in any order from easy to difficult or anything like that. So it is a completely random order. Everyone follow me on that? Okay? So what I want you to do when you're answering questions, answer the questions in a way that makes sense for you. Okay? Everyone with me on that? So if you have questions that you see that have short answers with line references, those are your do now questions. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and answer that because it's short It tells me where to go to find my answer, and I can get through these relatively quickly. Everyone follow me on that? Okay. The ACT, let's see, there was a couple of ones that I wanted to talk about. I do want to talk about, let's talk about lead words, because that's going to be your first strategy and what you're going to want to do. That way I can get you out of here at 4, those of you. Lead words. Lead words, if you go to page 245, do you see that box at the top? Highlight that, because that's going to be your first strategy that you want to use. Lead words. Okay? They're phrases and words that can be found in the actual passage. So you will actually see that word or you will see that phrase in your passage. Okay? Lead words are usually proper nouns, unusual words, dates, things like that. Okay? So that is a really good blurb right there, that box. You want to know what a lead word is. You can usually spot lead words in your passages without reading. Okay? Everyone with me on that? Everyone good? Okay, so I know some of you guys need to go. So for those of you that need to leave at 4, let me give you your homework for this week, okay? And I believe we will check that on Saturday. So reading drill 1, page 274. So on page 274, that's your homework, reading drill 1. Page 274, and then page 300 has reading drill 2. That's your other. Page 274 and page 300. You have 2 reading drills.
Okay.
Okay? And those are the 2 that you want to do this tonight or tomorrow. And we'll check those on Saturday. What are you going to bring on Saturday?
My book.
Your book. What happens if you don't bring your book?
You go home early. Go home.
You can go home early, that's right, but then you got up early for no reason, right? You won't be able to take the practice test. So make sure you have your book with you on Saturday. Let's leave it at 4. I need you to come here before you leave. Check out for Miss. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Miss B wants me to make a list of names because only 2 people had prior approval, so I need to make a list of your names and you just made it on the roster. So just come here before you walk out.
I have to work.
Fine, just give me your name. Your name.
And she will cry.
You already here. Yeah, you're good. Okay. Everybody else still good with staying? I'm good. Yeah. No.
Adiós. Espero que estén con
Bye, everyone. What is it? Hey.
All right. Okay, so let's finish with the lead word. Okay, lead words. If you go back, humor me and go back to page 244, just at the bottom. If you still have your book open. You'll be all right. You'll get there. So page 244, look at the bottom with me, okay? You see some numbers, 11, 12, 13, 31, and 35. You guys see those?
Yes.
Okay? Can you highlight, or you don't even highlight, look at the words that they've underlined. Do you guys see those? Those are all lead words. So if you look at number 11, Jeremy Bentham and lawyers. Proper noun and a noun, correct? Those are lead words. Look at number 12. Common law differs from civil law. Okay? Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, Connor.
Are we waiting on anybody else that's gonna pop in for the last 30 minutes? You guys know? You don't think so? We're good?
Do you want to go ahead and stop it?
Oh,